For this week's Trading the Markets podcast, we're looking at vaccines for COVID-19. How far off are we? How many are in development? Let's get an update now with Josh Warner, IG writer for us here for the platform. Josh, how many vaccines are now in development? Clearly, this is going to be the holy grail for how we get out of lockdown.
Yeah, so right now there are 76 vaccines in development, according to the World Health Organization. That number is continuing to grow. Around 2 weeks ago, there were around 50 in play. So we can sort of see the pace of vaccines or potential vaccines coming into play. Some are trying to repurpose existing drugs to see if they can be effective against COVID-19. This includes ones that were originally designed for the flu, Ebola, and malaria, for example. I suppose the main benefit of trialling existing drugs is that they should technically be quicker to approve if they are successful, especially if they've already been proved safe for human use. But having said that, those that are developing new vaccines from scratch seem to be moving at an incredible pace at the moment.
Notwithstanding this, it certainly seems still it's going to be quite a while before we get a vaccine for this. When could a vaccine be ready? And the other big question is, of course, is who is winning the race?
Yeah, so the time frame that's consistently cited by most governments is 12 to 18 months. By normal standards, this would be incredibly quick, but companies seem confident they can achieve it considering the exceptional times we're in and the desperate need to find a solution. So according to WHO, there are only a handful of potential vaccines that are already or about to be tested on humans, and these are mostly in the US, China, and the UK. US firm Moderna was the first company to start human trials back in March. But other stocks that are currently testing potential vaccines on humans include CanSino Biologics, Inovio Pharmaceuticals, Gilead Life Sciences, and UK-listed firm Synergen. However, I would like to highlight that it's important to remember there's no guarantee a vaccine or treatment will be found. For example, we still don't have a vaccine or a treatment for the common cold. So although there's a lot of effort being put behind this, it's important to stress that, there are no guarantees.
What about the manufacturing process? Are companies prepared, do you think, to produce such large quantities of any successful vaccine or treatment that is discovered? Clearly, any company that comes through is going to be in high demand if they're the only ones producing it. And of course, the production lines are always going to have to stop in almost every single other area of drug development in order to cope with the demand, surely.
Yeah, so ensuring there's the capacity to produce any successful vaccine is just as important as finding the vaccine itself. Right now, most of the industry is collaborating with other, with each other to ensure that they all have all the resources needed to roll out any vaccine that's found. Some companies, though, have outlined really big ambitions in terms of production. Inovio has said that it not only wants to clear all the, regulatory hurdles and testing by the end of the year, but it also wants to have 1 million doses ready to go. Meanwhile, Johnson & Johnson, one of the larger players in the pharma space, has said it's ultimately aiming to provide 1 billion doses of any vaccine that is found. So we it's definitely on companies' radars, and there's definitely big ambitions there.
One final question. We're talking here about opportunities in the markets with the Markets podcast that we hold every week. What about the opportunities do you see out ahead for those that are in the markets and are looking for an investment in the future?
Yeah, year to date, we've seen the pharmaceutical sector largely outperform the wider market as the pandemic's unfolded. For example, the Dow has lost over a fifth since the start of the year, and the pharma sector actually was dragged down along with that, but has bounced back a lot stronger and now only sits sort of 3 to 4% lower than it did at the start of the year. Some of the larger players like Johnson & Johnson and Gilead, have seen their share prices receive a boost related to their work on coronavirus. But, the biggest impact has been on the smaller pharma stocks like Moderna and Synergen, which have rocketed on news that they are trying to develop vaccines. Moderna is up 156% since the start of the year, and Synergen's soared 879%. So that could mean they have a long way to fall, if they fail to find success. It's obviously understandable that investors have got excited by the prospect of investing in a game-changing breakthrough with coronavirus. But it's important to remember that, not all these companies will succeed. And if they don't, we could see, a lot of these share price gains be eroded again in the future.
Josh, we'll leave it there, but thanks for joining us. Josh Warner, IG journalist there, talking about the vaccines for COVID-19 on this week's Markets Podcast.